Test 1, 2. Good afternoon, please welcome. Take your seats. Thank you so much for the voice of God. Good morning, welcome to our national stage. Today, a state of education in America. The LULAC National Stage highlights issues impacting Latino communities across America while providing solutions and a vision for the future. Through dialogue, remarks, and audience engagement, that's you. The goal is simple, to amplify awareness and take action. First, to our national stage, please help me welcome Giselle Tavera, Senior Manager of Economic Mobility and Hispanic Initiatives for the Ford Motor Company Fund.
Good morning, buenos días. My name is Giselle Tavera. And as Art mentioned, I am the Senior Manager of Economic Mobility and Hispanic Initiatives at Ford Motor Company Fund, the philanthropic arm of Ford Motor Company. Y estoy muy contenta de estar aquí con todos ustedes en la Isla del Encanto. Since 2010, Ford Fund has partnered with LULAC to support innovative educational programs created by LULAC councils that motivate Latino youth to achieve on-time high school graduation. Education is a top priority at Ford Fund because we know it can inspire, empower, and open the doors to a world of opportunities and economic mobility for all people. Together, through our creative approach and with the hard work and commitment of LULAC councils, we have made tremendous impact in the lives of over 3,000 students in the past 13 years. Year after year, we are encouraged by the stories we hear of how the Ford Driving Dreams Grants Program has been instrumental to students like Angelica Eggers, who is the first in her family to attend college and is now slated to graduate from Texas A&M, thanks in part to the support she received from her council. Our collective work is now more critical than ever because of the ongoing disruptions to learning brought on by this historic global pandemic. While admittedly pre-pandemic education was failing many students of color, COVID-19 has left many even further behind. And that's why we're excited to announce that we are committing more than $300,000 to LULAC councils this year to plan and execute local programs that will inspire students to reach their full potential and achieve their academic dreams. We look forward to seeing your proposals for the Ford Driving Dreams Grants Program, and I know that by working together, we will continue to develop vibrant and resilient student leaders who will change the world and their communities. Thank you for all of your hard work and commitment to ensuring students across the nation have access to high-quality education and career pathways. Enjoy the rest of your time at convention, and enjoy Puerto Rico. Gracias.
Good morning again. My name is Mark Miguel. I am the LULAC National Director of Policy and Legislation. It is my honor and privilege to introduce our next speaker, our keynote speaker, Miguel Cardona, the 12th U.S. Secretary of Education. Secretary Cardona has dedicated his career to serving students, educators, families, as an elementary school teacher, a school principal, district administrator, and most recently, as Commissioner of Education for the state of Connecticut. Secretary Cardona's focus on equity and excellence for all learners has driven his work at all levels of the education sector. Secretary Cardona has led the federal government's effort to support states in reopening America's public schools for in-person learning amid the recovery from the pandemic, moving from only 46% of schools open when President Biden took office to nearly 100% of schools open today. Well, not for the sun, but you know what I mean. Under Secretary Cardona's leadership, the U.S. Department of Education also has distributed historic funding through the American Rescue Plan to support K-12 schools and colleges, and has approved over $27 billion with a B, in targeted student loan relief. Yes, please welcome. Secretary Cardona earned a bachelor's degree at Central Connecticut State University, as well as a master's degree and doctorate degree from the University of Connecticut. Please help me welcome to the stage Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona. Un aplauso, por favor.
Me siento entre familia. Quiero empezar con las letras de una canción titulada Latino de Calle 13. Un boricua también. Y dice: soy lo que dejaron, soy toda la sobra de lo que se robaron. Un pueblo escondido en la cima, mi piel es de cuero, por eso aguanta cualquier clima. Soy una fábrica de humo, mano de obra campesina para tu consumo. Frente del frío, en el medio de verano, el amor en los tiempos de cólera, mi hermano. Las caras más bonitas que he conocido. Soy la fotografía de un desaparecido. La sangre dentro de sus venas. Soy un pedazo de tierra que vale la pena. Wow, LULAC, thank you for being here, and thank you for doing what you do. I'm honored to be here. Para mí es importante empezar y reconocer los sacrificios de muchos de ustedes. Ustedes son la razón por la que yo puedo estar aquí con mi familia, que están ahí, como secretario de Educación de los Estados Unidos. Today we celebrate one LULAC United. We come from all corners of this beautiful country with roots from many different Latin American countries. I always say I'm as American as apple pie and rice and beans. And whether you call it habichuelas, haba, judía, alubia o frijoles, somos uno. Somos uno. Somos uno because we're united by a story of perseverance. In some cases, we are united by a sense of having to prove people wrong. Somos unos because we're united by an ability to code switch nuestro lenguaje and culture switch. Para que tú lo sepas. You see, the ability to navigate more than one culture is a superpower. Como dice el gran Walter Mercado. Pero sobre todo, mucho, no dice. Dice, ser diferente es un regalo. Ser común es ordinario. To be different is a gift. To be ordinary is common. Somos unos because we're united by an immense sense of pride, knowing that our story is a continuation of the stories of our ancestors who sacrificed so much so that we can do what we do today. For me, that story started not too far from where we are today. In a little town called Aguada, Puerto Rico, about 70 miles away from here, mi abuelo Abelino and my abuela Maria de la Paz, Cardona, lived with their 8 children. My father was the youngest. Papa Abelino was a foreman in the sugar field. He had leadership, hard work in his veins. Well, in the 1960s, things got really tough for him. And my grandparents traded the prestige of position and the beautiful paradise of the island for the projects in Connecticut. Status-wise, they went from here to here. living for a future that they just knew was possible, but almost as second-class citizens at the time, all so they could make more income to provide a better life for their children. Mi abuelo uses sugarcane cutting skills to cut tobacco in Connecticut. They lived on the 4th floor of a housing project, and while they didn't have a lot of material possessions, they had each other and their proud Boricua roots. Because of their move and their sacrifice, I am blessed to now advise the President of the United States. We did that in just 2 generations. This is America. This is the dream, and it's alive in each one of us. The closer I feel to mis abuelos, the harder I fight. I like to think I still have the mancha de plátano on me. Whenever I get complacent or comfortable, I remember that I have to make up for what they gave up. Because of their sacrifices and the sacrifices of your families, we're able to fight for things we believe. We owe it to them not only to have better things, but to use our skills, our talents, and education to improve the lives of those who are just getting here. At the Department of Education and in the Biden-Harris team, we are fighting for our Latinos. To date, we've approved over $27 billion in loan forgiveness, and we're just warming up. That was just 1 year. That's more than any other administration combined in 1 year. But we're not done yet. If any of you work in public service jobs, teachers, or nurses, please make sure you see if you qualify for public service loan forgiveness through studentaid.gov. You might be eligible right now for loan forgiveness today. Studentaid.gov, check it out. We opened nearly 100% of our schools in 6 months, and that's with the Delta and Omicron virus surges. We made sure that our dreamers had access to COVID relief funds also. That was really important, that our dreamers had access to COVID relief funds. We have Heather Gonzalez leading the White House initiative on advancing educational equity, excellence, and economic opportunity for Hispanics. Through this initiative, we're making sure that we're sharing federal resources with you and listening to you through events like our White House initiative and Latino economic summits. We need you to keep holding us accountable and sharing resources and successes with us so we can share them with others. At the Department of Education, we have a dedicated senior advisor, Chris Soto, focused on Puerto Rico's education recovery. We've helped usher nearly $6 billion to the island in 1 year for education. We saw short column issues in the schools in Puerto Rico when we came last year, so we're ensuring that the American Rescue Plan dollars can be used to fix the short column issues, to keep students and educators safe. We also helped increase the teacher salary by $12,000 a year with ARP money, and that's just 1 year. Every school has a nurse in Puerto Rico, and there are more psychologists available to students now than ever before. We also increased Pell Grants and proposed higher increases in our recent budget, higher than ever before. This is great for Latinos. And we've provided over $11 billion for Hispanic serving institutions to make sure that our Latinos' future have support that they need to go on and succeed and follow that American dream. Y lo que nos falta. Moving forward, I will continue to champion and fight for a multilingual America so that every American can experience that superpower. Join me in that, LULAC. Ya es tiempo que todos entiendan la importancia de ser bilingüe. A mí me encanta la música. Siempre estoy escuchando la música antes de empezar un speech o una reunión. And the soundtrack of my life includes many artists from the island and Latin America. So oftentimes when I have a message to share, I accompany it with a song. That's just part of my DNA. That's who I am. When I think of the work that we have to do together, yo me pongo a pensar en el artista del régimen y la canción Contra Despierta Boricua. Wake up. But this song didn't say contra, it said another word. We shouldn't rest. We can't become complacent. We shouldn't lose the chip on our shoulder to fight for a better day, for better outcomes for our students, for better access to health care, for basic rights for our Latinos who in many cases are working twice as hard to chase that American dream. That's what LULAC means to me. You represent equilibrium when things are not stable. You represent la lucha for the Arinos and the Maria de la Pazes that are with us today. You represent unity when there are forces all around us trying to divide us. We are one LULAC united. Somos uno. That's why today I call for a renewed focus on issues that matter to us, but that also matters to the family that just got here from their homeland for a better life. You see, you can't make it anymore just cutting tobacco. That's why we must fight for equitable education and access to college. So let's recommit together, LULAC. Let's recommit to mustering up our energy como una familia latino-americana. And let's aggressively and unapologetically ensure that we are closing opportunity and achievement gaps by demanding that the American Rescue Plan dollars are going toward those in greatest need. Let's push for a greater return on investment and affordability for our colleges and our universities, which still seem so out of reach for so many of our first-generation college students. Let's open doors in government work and in teaching so that Latinos make up at least 1/4 of the professional jobs available. We belong. We belong. And it's long past time that we level up our expectations for belonging. We make up 25% of the population in our public schools. 1 out of every 4 students. We should make up at least that percentage of positions of prestige and influence too. Just yesterday, I was on a White House cabinet call, where I learned that the recent census reported that Latinos are 19% of our country's population. Well, the percentage of White House appointees that are Latinos is only 14%. The entire Biden-Harris team wants to improve that. And today, I'm calling on LULAC to help us increase the number of Latino appointees in this administration. Let's get to 30%.
Yes.
Imagínate El Salvador tendría esta nación con más latinos. Imagínate la Casa Blanca con más latinos. It'd be great. We still have a lot of work ahead, and our advocacy needs to be stronger than ever. Pero es una lucha. Pero es una lucha buena. And sometimes when you're feeling a little defeated or a little tired of fighting, do what I do. You walk into the White House and put your AirPods on, and you play the song El Rey by Vicente Fernández. Te saca el pecho, and you remember where you came from and who you're fighting for. En la unión está la fuerza, Latino. Seguiremos para adelante. Gracias.
Secretario Cardona, we are so honored that you have taken time to be here. Thank you, sir. El Rey. Oh, canción. All right. I want to know how many of you are teachers in this room. Come on, stand down. How many of you are students? lights just went on and you guys are so excited. Look, I've been reading a lot about Randy. And I'll tell you, she's an amazing force in this nation. Just go on right now and you'll see her trending because she is speaking truth to power. I don't have to tell you who she is. You know who she is. 13 years leading the second largest classroom union in America. You have re-elected her for the 8th time. So, it is my honor to bring forward una de las voces más poderosas de educación en los Estados Unidos y Puerto Rico. Please help me welcome your President, Randi Weingarten. Un aplauso para Randy.
I wish I could sing like Beyonce. Thank you. And so this is my confession here. I was speaking to the bakery workers in Las Vegas yesterday and got onto a flight that got us here at 5 o'clock in the morning because I wanted to be with LULAC. Because it was important to be with LULAC. Because at this moment in time, and Cindy came to our convention in Boston a few weeks ago, and I want to actually, there's something she said that has been in my head for the last few weeks. Think about who is your executive director, the youngest and the only female CEO in LULAC's nearly 100-year history. This is about representation mattering, and it is about what Secretary Cardona just said, about making sure that we live in many different cultures, and we find ways of unifying in a way that doesn't just bring people together. I mean, unity is nice, but unity is important for a reason, which is that there's a lot of work to do to make sure that the Latino communities in our country not just are seen, but are respected and have agency and have opportunity and have justice. And that's what LULAC has done for its entire history. But, and Cindy said this, and as a social studies teacher, I was listening to her and I said, we wrote it down. She asked the 3,000 delegates in our convention as she spoke to them, she said, be the sentinels that cry out and issue the warnings when we see barriers that threaten equitable access to public education for Latinos and young people of color. Now she said that to the teachers and the healthcare workers of America. She asked them to act, not just in their classrooms, but on behalf of Latino children everywhere. And why? And this is part of why I wanted to be here today. I was gobsmacked when I heard Greg Abbott. Oh my God, you can do better than that. To the students, how did the teachers do about that? Is that okay? I think you were louder. Let me see it. Greg Abbott. See, Carla, we gave Ron DeSantis a run for his money there. I was gobsmacked when this governor of Texas says, well, I think we should be reconsidering Plyler versus Doe. Now, education summit right now. And you just heard the secretary, we have to do what we need to do to have more opportunity, better opportunity. What was he saying when he said, oh, we have to reconsider Plyler? He was essentially saying undocumented children, or anyone who could be threatened as undocumented because somebody in their family is undocumented, they no longer should have the right to a basic education in the United States of America. That's what he was saying. That's what he was saying. Because he wants people fighting with each other. He wants people on that border between Mexico and Texas fighting with each other. He doesn't want to do the things that makes Texas representative of the population that lives in Texas. He wants people fighting against each other. So that we're not taking the steps forward, but we're just fighting to stay in the same place. So we have to be together. Educators and healthcare workers and small business and students, LULAC, AFT, we have to be together because if we're going to make sure that every Latino kid has opportunity, we have to be together to be those sentinels. That's why I wanted to be here today. And I'll say one more thing before we start the panel, which is this. It can't just be about rhetoric. It can't just be about speaking from a podium like this. Our actions speak louder than our words. And one of the, and I teased about this earlier today in another session I was at. I don't know how many of you like Joni Mitchell. I'm a big Joni Mitchell fan. I watched Brandi Carlile and Joni Mitchell's taping of the Newport News Folk Festival this week. But another activist from that era, Grace Paley, said the following things that's been in my mind for a long time. The only recognizable feature of hope is action. Now we're all about hope instead of fear. We wouldn't be in this room, we wouldn't be talking about education if we didn't believe in hope instead of fear, if we didn't believe in aspiration instead of despair, if we didn't believe in democracy instead of autocracy. But the forces of autocracy, the forces of fascism, the forces of dictatorship, their tool is apathy. Their tool is despair. Their tool is division. The forces of hope, our tool is action and activism. So yes, of course, that means voting and get out the voting. But it means more. For a teachers union, what it means is that we give out books to children in all sorts of different ways and all sorts of different titles so kids and parents see themselves in those books. So when the other side is banning books, we make sure that kids not only are taught to read, but have books at home. When the other side says they want to pull the rug out of public education, we say we want to make sure college is affordable and accessible, and we fight to make sure that student debt is a nullity and the precarity of people who go to college and then can't afford it. How is that the promise of America? When we say that education is really important, we say, let's actually make sure kids have real choices. College that's affordable and accessible, but also, look at this island that we're on. Look at the food-to-table industry that's here. Why don't we have the apprenticeships that Germany has and Switzerland has so that kids from junior high and high school can make all sorts of different choices? You know that 93% of young adults graduate from college when they go to high quality career tech, graduate from high school when they go to high quality career tech ed programs, and 70% of them go to college. So when I'm talking about who we are as a union, we're creating sustainable community schools, wrapping services around so that those American Rescue Plan monies that Secretary Cardona just talked about, they're at a school when you need it.
Yes.
The nurses, the guidance counselors, the smaller class sizes. And the last thing I'll say is this, and this goes for our young people as well as our educators. Respect can't just be an Aretha Franklin song. Respect has to be a lived experience. But for that to happen, we have to act. We have to walk together. We have to be together. We have to fight for the equality and the opportunity that all of God's children deserve. Thank you.
All right, a couple of things. You've got some classwork to do. You're going to have an opportunity in a few moments to ask questions. But right now, where's our Secretary of Education de Puerto Rico? ¿Dónde está? Yo sé que lo vi aquí. Has Mr. Yasar Ramos left the house? Did he go with Secretary Cardona? Okay, está bien. Si él no está, I'll take over.
All right.
Oh, by the way, my name is David Cruz. I do communications for LULAC, but you guys are the superstars. I want to recognize the students who just walked in. Guys, you're beautiful. Stand up. I want everybody to see you. Todos! Hola! Hola! Thank you. And I'm not going to put anyone on the spot to be seated, but two of those students, two young women, I was sitting somewhere in a corner, and I saw them and we spoke. And they said that they are living in New Mexico. They are originally from Syria. But you know something I saw? Something that Randy alluded to. The fire in their eyes. La curiosidad por la vida y querer aprender. I see in their eyes the future of limitless possibilities. So though we only met, I wish you well on your journey, and I know you're going to do extraordinarily well and be very successful. Thank you. A todos los estudiantes, and to you, the teachers. We're so indebted to you. I am the father of a public educator who teaches in a public school in San Antonio, Texas, who is represented by the AFT. And my wife is an educator, and she too is represented by the AFT. So thank you.
Thank you, David.
All right, pasemos a la conversación, una charla unrehearsed, okay? So whatever I ask is what se me ocurre, and then we'll get in a conversation with you, okay? Where are the mics, by the way? There are going to be mics in the audience, too. I want to thank you.
Thank you so much.
Test. Well, you are so dynamic, and this is my first opportunity to chat with you. Bilingüe está bien? Okay. What motivates you? What gets you up in the morning? ¿Qué es lo que te despierta cada mañana?
Them.
Ellos.
I mean, seriously.
There's a mic right behind
Oh,
you.
I'm sorry.
Grab it.
Seriously. So, you know, I was born in the Jewish tradition, and frankly, I'm actually married to a rabbi. And in our scripture, there are a few things that actually I've taken to heart.
Dice ella que nació en la cultura y la tradición judía y está casada con una persona que es rabbi, que es rabino. Okay, gracias.
Yeah.
¿Y qué me dicen? So what do you say?
So, there's one phrase called tikkun olam, which is repairing the world. And there's another phrase, which I think is even more important, which is justice, justice, justice.
Wow.
And tirdof in Hebrew. But what it means, and you know, as I heard Secretary Cardona earlier talk about his origin story, you know, my grandparents also were undocumented. They came from Ukraine. And they, you know, America was, it was never, you know, streets paved with gold. But there was a sense, because of freedoms, the freedom to speak, the freedom to live, that there was opportunity here that other places did not have.
May I quickly just summarize? And I won't do this literally because time does not allow it. La tradición judía dice justicia, 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 reparar el mundo. Y dice ella que su familia viene de Ucrania y que ella nació con esa tradición en su cultura. Y que dice ella que hay que hacer las cosas. En este país, dice, los Estados Unidos, no hay pavimento de oro, pero hay oportunidades. Please continue.
So, what are the things that, but you know, opportunity doesn't just fall from, I love people who think, like when I hear rich folks say, well, you know, just do what I did. Like, you need a ladder of opportunity. It's, you don't just pull yourself up by the bootstraps. There needs to be an environment that enables. And so what are those two things? What are the power agents, frankly, in this country for opportunity? The labor movement and education. You have to have a democracy, you have to have voice. But the labor movement and education.
Me dice, ¿qué cosa? Dice la gente rica. Es como decir, pues hagan todos lo que yo hice. La escalera de la oportunidad ahí está. Dice, pero no, necesitamos dos factores. ¿Qué dijo? El movimiento laboral y la educación. Y de eso, a eso se dedica Randi Weingarten. So you devote your life to that.
Yep.
So look, I was reading about you. You're trending all over the place because of the statements you made. Esta mujer está en todos los medios ahorita por los comentarios que ha hecho. Does it bother you that people personally attack you for speaking that truth? For instance, if you teach a child their culture, they call that critical race theory and it must be divisive. That's the way it's defined. How do you confront day after day that kind of ostracism? Me pregunto, ¿cómo se siente una persona en su puesto que día tras día la ataca por hablar la verdad? Por ejemplo, si tú tratas de educar a una criatura a su cultura, dicen que es mostrarles a ellos cómo dividirnos. So how do you deal with that?
So, again, I think about, so I have power, I have agency. You know, I don't see myself as a victim. I see myself as, how lucky am I that I get to advocate for a better life.
Oh, stop there. One moment, Randy. You said you have power. Dice, yo tengo poder. Yo no soy víctima, porque yo puedo transformar las vidas de otros. Can you transfer that to the teachers who are here?
Yeah, through having a union, through
Well,
elected
yeah.
power. That's why, but this is so I think about the kid that is bullied, that feels like he, she, or they doesn't have power. Someone who feels completely alone.
There may be somebody here listening to you.
Exactly. And so, if that person can get up every day and fight for his, her, or their dignity, then I'd be damned if I don't fight for yours.
¿Qué dijo? Dice, imagínate, dice, hay algún estudiante, alguna mujer, algún joven que se siente que no puede, porque son víctimas del acoso, ¿no? En las escuelas, los ataques son brutales. Dice ella, si ellos se pueden levantar cada día, enfrentar el reto de ellos, ¿cómo yo no lo puedo hacer? So tell me.
But I want to say one
Please.
more, if I may, which is something that every school teacher in this room learns in the first year they teach. These two lessons. One, it's not what's said, it's what's heard. And you have to meet people where they are. Because if we don't actually meet, and this lesson goes for whether we're teaching kindergartners or like I did, 11th and 12th graders, or whether we're just in society. You can have different opinions and different views, but there has to be that basic respect, and you have to understand where somebody's coming from. But it's also, I may think that I'm communicating. David, you're a communication person. I may think I'm communicating, but if somebody doesn't hear it.
And with that, dos puntitos breves. Dice ella que se trata de dos aspectos. No solamente lo que uno dice, pero lo que se escucha, ¿verdad? Y luego también reconocer que cada estudiante es diferente. Hay que llegarles donde ellos están en su vida. You are so right about that. We can't cookie cutter education, can we?
Oh. And part of the reason that ensuring that every child has a great education is that every child is different. And so you have to meet kids where they are. And you have to meet families where they are. And that's part of the reason we need all sorts of different kinds of resources. It's why teachers will tell you, teachers who are underpaid will immediately say first, give us lower class size. And we'll say, there should not be an either or here. Teachers to stay in the profession need to feed their families, and we need lower class size.
Entonces, no hay que sacrificar una por la otra. Está bien, pueden aplaudir, because I mean, you're very right. Que no hay que decir, pues si soy maestro, yo prefiero tener aulas más pequeñas y pues el salario, ahí lo dejemos para otro momento. Dicen, ¿por qué no los dos? Justamente se puede pedir. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the floor here in a moment. ¿Quieren hacer preguntas? Okay, empecemos acá. Si usted se pone de pie, identifíquese, identify yourself and ask away. Adelante.
Okay, my name is Elba Alicia Lawrence Lopez Pagana Acevedo Martinez Gonzalez Rodriguez, and that is the song of my ancestors. I want to say I'm state director of LULAC, Ohio, and I am a classroom teacher. And when the pandemic happened, we were building the airplane as we were driving it. But because our governor in Ohio doesn't respect teachers, when we had teachers that needed protection from COVID, we were still forced to go back in the classroom without the adequate protections. As a result of that, I got sick. I lost $10,000 worth of wages because once my sick leave was over, then you're on your own, right? And so first I want to say it was my union that fought back, and they had to give me back my money because they were wrong. Now, I'm not saying that the administrators were bad people, because they were trying to do their best with what they had. Everybody was learning how to build the airplane. But if it wasn't for our unions, then we as teachers have no protection.
So what is your question?
My question is, how do we continue to advocate as teachers in the classroom when we are told that if we say something, especially in CRT, how do we protect our jobs? Because this teacher is going to make sure that my students know, ¿y tu abuela dónde está? Because they need to know where their heritage is from and where their backbone comes from.
How do they?
And I don't want to have to fight that and be able to speak that in my classroom.
So, let me do the easy piece first.
Llévate el micrófono porque ya
Right.
hizo su pregunta.
Let me do the easy piece first and then the harder piece. The easy piece is, last summer, this is when they all the Fox, I think I was on every Fox show with really terrible pictures of me, of course, because they have to do terrible pictures of women to demonize. So notice, I am teasing about this because they want us to be scared, and I am not scared of them. But the easy part is this. I announced last summer that our union, for anybody who's a member of our union, and they get in trouble for teaching honest history, we have their back, we have a legal defense fund, and we will protect them.
Wow! Wow!
So that's the easy part. That's the easy, and the reason I say that's the easy part is that's something I can do from, got permission from our exec council, I can do as a national president. I can move money as a national president. This is the hard part. What is CRT? So I'm a lawyer as well as a teacher. I took a CRT course in law school. It's Derek Bell, Kim Crenshaw. They teach it. It is about how you assess and ascertain intentional discrimination and the impact of long-term systemic racism. I taught high school. We didn't teach that, and I taught AP Gov. What we teach in schools, or what we should be teaching, is honest history. And we should be ensuring that kids understand conflict. If kids understand conflict, it's going to be a lot better than figuring out conflict on the streets. And so we teach the good, the bad, the mountains we climb. We teach people to see each other. And let me say one more thing before you translate. This is the problem. The fear that you just said. If I say something, if I answer a question, is somebody, because CRT has been so manipulated and distorted, is somebody going to hold me in? And it's been that chilling effect because of that. That's the fear that they want. That's the fear that LULAC started fighting back against 100 years ago. The fear, so you're silent and you go into a hole.
Dos puntitos, rapidito. Jorge, can you bring the mic up? You may have one or two questions, and that's it. Dice ella que si usted como maestra o maestro toman acción en contra de usted porque está hablando de la cultura de sus estudiantes, ellos le van a respaldar. Número uno. Número dos, dice mejor aprender cómo manejar conflicto, navegar conflicto en una aula de la escuela que en las calles de este país. Y por fin, dice, lo que la oposición quiere hacer es crear temor entre los maestros para que dejen de hablar la verdad. Entonces, no dejemos de hacer eso. Una pregunta más, a ver, please help me. Perdón, is there a student who wants to ask a question? Yes. Disculpe, I've got to be fair to the students. Jorge, we can get the microphone back there. Make a real quick question. We're going to get a microphone to you. Gracias, thank you. 1 minute. Tenemos un minutito, please. Yeah, go ahead. Ask your question.
I wanted to ask, why do you do this, and do you really think that you're making a difference to everybody who's watching you? And what do you have to say to everybody who is watching at home?
Thank you.
So first off, thank you for speaking. Thank you for getting up.
Thank you.
Thank you for speaking. So, I think about it in big and small ways. Making a difference, I would actually say, take what we're doing in terms of student debt. Because of the lawsuits that we filed and the work we're now doing, you heard Secretary Cardona talk about how we're trying to make real reducing student debt. We have already saved people $8.1 billion, 145,000 borrowers. So if you're one of those people who we have a story from Miami-Dade, a member who went and became a doctor, $300,000 of debt. How do you even imagine that you're going to pay that off? Because of the work we did, that debt is now zero.
Wow.
That's making a difference. But the more important way of making a difference is that you got up and asked a question. The more important way of making a difference is that if together we fight for justice and opportunity,
That is what public education did, to make sure you feel the confidence to be able to get up and seize your life and opportunity. That is what we do and why we do it.
Un aplauso para Randi Weingarten. Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you.
Buen día.
Randy, thank you. Safe travels. Gracias. Thank you to each of you. We have to adjourn, but have a wonderful day. Continuamos hasta la cima. Gracias.
Thank you so much. You're amazing. Thank you. Thank you, David.